Hello, world. This is TJ Morris, and you're listening to ET Radio. We have the ACO journalist Dave Emmons joining us today. I see he's calling in right now, but let me get you introduced to our Alien Contact organization as ACO members of our American Communications Online company that is sponsoring today because I'm going to transfer all my assets over to my company, which is going to include my friends. So this is exciting. And I have asked my longtime friend, it's going to be 8 years with Janet Carroll Lessin, for us marketing and promoting the Ascension Center, our Ohana family. And so Janet Carroll Lessin is here, as well as my dog. Hush, Coco. So I hope you guys are dog lovers. I'll have to go open my door. I have my granddaughter Mitch here with me, and apparently she is doing something. Hush, Coco. Great. Now I'm all plugged up with my headset and everything. And hold on. And then, Matt, why don't you introduce yourself while I'm finagling? Can you introduce yourself?
Well, I'm a mad painter. I'm a radio host and a very inquisitive person. I'm just interested in all this stuff to do with aliens, and hopefully we can get some disclosure going on here. Who knows what we might find out? We might learn a few things about ourselves in the process.
Yeah, we're trying to do that. We have a good outlook. Okay, folks. Now he is now helping me with my Amiga, my Ace Metaphysical Institute graphic association, which is falling under my company as well. It's a different division, and Janet and I are going to get back into our artistic mode, but he's been in it. He's an artist and an author and a radio host, and he's been managing for us almost 7 years now. We're going to recognize him as our station manager, and whether he doesn't matter where he's broadcasting, but he broadcasts for several friends. He's been with Mike Ringley out of Kentucky, where I used to live, and that's where I started. So we still have a lot of people in Kentucky listening to us, not to mention Australia and around the world. And Janet's been running our nonprofit in Maui, Hawaii, and then her husband under anthropology for our Ace Folklife Society. And I'm trying to combine our nonprofits as far as our radio shows. So we're going to try to pull them in under the ACO acronym, which includes today's program, Alien Contact Organization, by Tom Becker, which is also known as a mad painter, Janet Carroll Lessin of Maui, Hawaii, Tom's of Georgia, and I'm in Florida. So, Janet, do you want to say anything before we bring our guest on for the Alien Contact Organization Journalism Department?
Well, I do more than journalism. But, this is, I'm Janet Carroll Lessin. I'm calling in from Maui, Hawaii. I've been working with TJ, off and on since 1993, 94. We knew each other back in Oahu when we were both living over there in the early 90s, and then we went in a different part of the world, and now we're back. We've been broadcasting since 2012, June of 2012. Yeah. What were you saying, TJ?
I said we were BFFs as of June 3rd, 2012, and we didn't even know it. We just had people bring us back together. I know for sure in 2007 because that's when the guy took my picture, and he was the state director for MUFON. So MUFON brought us back together. His name was Earl Benezet, and his XO, our assistant state, was Barry Gaunt, G-A-U-N-T, Barry Gaunt. And Barry has one of our Ascension Center books. I've got the original book here, Ascension Ancient Mystery Schools, The Foundation of Self-Improvement and Well-Being. And that is for emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual well-being. And I used to teach classes, psychic awakening classes, and we did train people in Your Spiritual Center, Spiritual World Network, and then we had a group for Stargate. And I lived through it, so it's not that interesting to me, but I still have all my classes. And since a lot of my old students are coming back in the Ascension realm for light workers and truth seekers, I've been thinking about taking my metaphysical group back on board and having a meetup group. And Janet had the Stargate to the Cosmos event in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and we'll be talking with an associate of ours for the Allied Command Organization. And Ahmad has stepped up as a director for that with Ken R. Johnston, so we can set up a more of a chain of command so we can work this company as a 50% profit and 50% not profit. Not that you guys care, but it's just that everything's going up. It's gotten very expensive. I just got told I was going to spend a few thousand before I came on. I was like choking, going, really? So thousands now. Just the right time is social media, and I guess we're going to have to do membership driven. So that's why Dave's going to come on today. He has a degree in journalism, and he likes to talk as an alien contact explorer or researcher. So what he's going to be doing is talking to us and training us in his belief in going, because he is a kindred spirit. He is also like Janet and I, as far as out-of-body experiences and near-death experiences, as well as a CE5, or at least a contactee. But Janet has interviewed him, and I haven't. He came on one day and said that he would like to share a little bit. But Ahmad, do you remember Dave or anything about him? Because I'm fixing to put him on the air here. Do you remember Dave? Were you here when he dropped by?
No, ma'am. No, I wasn't.
Okay. Well, you handle all our Ascension Center believers, and Thomas Becker, if you go to his Facebook, it's a mad painter, but he has on there, he is with the ACO, and he's been helping us get us an acronym going here in our graphic design department, and we're real excited about that because we'll be able to use it in our fandom for our allied I get all these ACOs mixed up. Not just Alien Contact Org tonight is ACO, which Ahmad has gracefully helped us with today, but also tomorrow night we're doing Allied Command Organization. So you get it that they're acronyms for my company, ACO, and I've had a brand for years that I got through the federal government and the DNB, or Dun & Bradstreet number. So to let you know, we're all really official here in 2019, getting organized. So without further ado, let's bring on our guest, Mr. Dave Emmons. Was that with an S, Dave? Is it Emmons with an S?
Yes, it's Emmons with an S on the end of it. E-M-M-O-N-S. Yes.
Great. Thank you,
Okay.
Dave. Well, do your radio voice and speak a little loud. I'm going to tie Janet into Ahmad so Ahmad can track you and make sure we got a good sound. He's our radio station manager. So, Ahmad, say hi to Dave. Let's get y'all talking to each other.
Howdy, it's a pleasure to meet you, and you sound great.
Yeah, well, thank you. Matt, nice meeting you.
And Janet,
hi,
you want to say hi?
Hi, Dave. Good to see
Janet.
you again.
Yeah, you're gonna be bored hearing my stories again. I don't call them stories; I call them experiences.
Every time somebody tells their story, there's always more detail. It's like the more you tell it, the more you remember, and it starts to spark. And your story will spark our listeners' stories, and will spark mine and TJ's and Tom's story. So it's an interesting process. We're going to enjoy it here.
Okay, good.
And if others would like to join Dave, he has a company in Illinois, but he can tell us what he does for a living. But he is he has a degree in journalism, so he's going to help us edit our Alien Contact Researchers Journal, and we'd like you to go there to aliencon.org. Please help us, because I'm spending a lot of money to get it back up here. We've had it purged over to a new server for the last 48 hours, so I was panicking because I wanted to get it up before he came on, but we've got to go in and put pictures and things. A lot of work to do, so hopefully I'm going to get him to help me out here. But if not, it's something I can do, and we love our writers and our graphic artists, and Ahmad is helping us, and so we're doing the speech today. So, Dave, if you don't mind, Tell us how you got into journalism, and then we'll ask you how you got into alien contact. But give us a little 3D history, when you were a little boy and when you wrote your first book or your first and then how you got into radio.
Okay, my first contact with any UFO, I guess, experiences was when I was 14 years of age, and my best friend and I saw a UFO up close. It was only 60, 70 feet up away from us, and we could make out every detail in it. Of course, it was dark. It was about 10:30 at night, but we made out the bottom that seemed like it come through the clouds, in which it smelled like sulfur, but we know that that's ozone now, that it burned through. I guess it was hot when it come in which was a little different than most ships that you hear about. It might have been one of their Model T models. I don't know, but it looked it looked like a bubbly fat top that kids play with, and I was afraid that there's going to be aliens looking out the windows, and it had quite a few windows around the second decking. It's about 30, 35 feet wide and probably 12, 15 feet tall, and we had a good look at it, and we was afraid that what was going to happen next, and we really don't know what happened next because we had some missing time for about an hour and a half, and we still can't figure that out. It wasn't until about a month or so later until I dug out I guess you could call it a small Advil pill or a small miniature M&M looking thing that was in my testicles, and there was a hole there, so I was able to get it back out the hole that whoever put it in there. They cut a little slit, and it was still red, and I pushed it back out and put it in my hand, and as soon as I put it in my hand, it went from an ash tan color, and it started getting brown. I showed it to my mom, and she says, "Throw that old thing away." She said, "That's probably just a blackhead." I said, "No, it's not. There was a hole cut there. Somebody put it there or something." Even at that age, I was 14, I even knew that something just wasn't right, but I didn't go any further than that because we didn't have computers back then. I was only 14, so I just went back outside and played with my friends. But that was the first contact. Getting into journalism, how I got into journalism is through music. I've played music about 45 years. I was an MC. I've done a lot of speaking to people over the microphone. I also done some comedy. So I got used to using the microphone, and I had a voice that people said, "Okay, we can hear you through all this clatter out here in the audience." I'd talk to maybe 1,000 people at a time at some of our bigger dances, and so I thought, well, why don't I go to to radio or journalism? So I did. I started at the community college, which is not listed on my bio. I graduated from a community college, and it was my liberal arts. And then I went to Broadcast Center, in which they're an elite broadcast school. They teach radio and TV journalism and marketing. And then I went to Lindenwood College in St. Charles, Missouri. And so I've done radio, done the commercials and things of that nature. I didn't work in it very long because there wasn't any money in it, especially from the bottom up. You had to make a big name for yourself so you can bring in more, larger commercial accounts. So that's how I got into journalism. But being involved in UFOs started when I was 14, and it seemed to pick up some steam in 2009 through, 2015. I had a lot of things happen during that period. Before then, I had a few things happen, and I had to make a record of that. I've got a 250-plus page ledger that I made a lot of notes, a lot of strange things. I made the notes of the smaller items to see if they would fit into the time frame of the larger events that would happen. So I do have all those records, and I read through them the other day, and I found a few keywords that I think like Janet said about the details, and I'm starting to get more, into the details. I think that's what people sometimes want to hear. I'm also getting involved in how I felt, how your emotional. How you felt emotionally, and then how you felt physically. I think those are really signs of something occurring that is not within the normal limits. So I'm starting to talk about that quite a bit. Actually, with the Pentagon and the Navy coming out with disclosure, it's going to get rid of our, what they call the first stage of contact. And then we're going to have to go to the second and third and fourth stage of contact, but they have those numbers because actually with the Pentagon and the government admitting to UFOs, I guess the UFO accounts are what people see will be everyday thing as soon as everybody starts believing through the government. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but that's how I feel about it. The first kind, second kind, third kind, fourth kind. The first kind will almost be eliminated after disclosure is fully opened.
So, Dave, so you're saying that there's something came out locally or nationally in the papers. Can you elaborate on that and get any feedback?
Yes. If you watch Fox News and CNN, they actually have programs of people talking about the Pentagon and also about Navy pilots coming out and talking about UFO sightings. There has been, and it's been on the internet, on the news articles. I read the internet news articles. I don't get newspapers, but I watch the news, and I watch for the news on the internet. And the Navy said that they're seeing unusual sightings almost daily on the East Coast when they fly out and do training missions or whatever. But they see these UFOs almost on a daily basis. So that's a lot more than what we've ever expected. It's getting more numerous right now, so we don't know what's building. Something is changing. There's more sightings from, the military, and that makes it, true. The Pentagon has released some papers on it. So it just, and Fox News, like I said, there's certain shows that talk about the UFO thing, and it's almost weekly. They're talking about it. So this is a big change than what's been going on the past few years. It's really getting out there, and that's why I'm saying that if they open up with their disclosure, the Pentagon and the government and military, and if they open up with their disclosure, then that's going to do away with our experiences of the first kind. That's seeing a UFO or something that might be a UFO. So we'll have to go to the second kind to deliver more news about the UFO. That means we're going to have to start getting involved in seeing the craft, seeing the details of the craft, and then also getting a chance maybe to have a contact with an ET in order for it to go to the third and fourth kind. So I think that's where we're going to be pretty soon. So we'll keep moving up the level until maybe a flying saucer lands in the Washington front yard there, and the president comes out and meets aliens. Then that'll be it. That'll blow even the fourth kind. So I guess us experiencers have to hurry up and get our information out before the government discloses everything. We're going to be old hat.
That would be great. Let's do the next level of existence. Yeah. So, if you have any links to those articles, I'd like to put them up on the show page. I'll look for them in a little bit here. I'm just fine-tuning the page for today. TJ, do you want to go round robin with us asking Dave questions, or Dave, you want to continue your story a little bit more, flesh it out?
Well, I can continue, and I'll mention my sightings briefly, and then I'll go more into the after details.
Okay.
The second sighting I had was one that was come across the highway as I was going south, and something told me to go to Springfield that night. They talk about abductees. Sometimes they're told to do something, or they're directed to go somewhere or do something. So I was directed to go up to Springfield, see a friend of mine playing music. Of course, being a musician, I liked the music anyway. So, but I felt weird that whole evening, like something was, like I was kind of dumbed down partially. And then when I left about 11 o'clock that night in Springfield, and I was getting in my car, and I saw this blonde-headed young lady getting into her car and getting into her console and looking up at me as I was leaving, and that I found that kind of strange. But then after that, there was a lot of stoplights in Springfield, Illinois, and it seemed like I was going through those stoplights real fast. My memory or something was just, I guess, taken over by something, and I was driving fine. I mean, not reckless. But then when I got on the highway heading south on Highway 55, I noticed a bright light to my left coming up on the other side of the interstate, and I thought it was a helicopter or something. But when it got up to me, it turned right over my car, and I saw up under it and it looked like a pie shape. It had little pie cuts, and it looked like it's glass, like I guess you could call it fuzzy glass, and there's lights emanating from the bottom, and then in the center was a dark round circle. This craft was probably about 25, 30 feet wide, and I couldn't tell how high it was because I just saw the bottom come over me. But then I got home about 30 minutes faster than what I should have. I think there was something to do. They were dealing with time or something. I don't know. Somebody asked me the other day a question about, do I believe in time travel? The only time travel I can believe in is when they take me forward in time. They'll give me a vivid dream, and every time I have a real vivid dream, it comes true. They're showing me what's going to happen in the future, and I've had several of those dreams. One dream was when the plant was. I worked at a refinery as a supervisor there for a while, and about 12 years. And I saw this other craft that looked like a glider, and it looked stainless steel. It had sharp wings, and it had just one tail rudder, one, I guess, alien, I don't know what they call them. I forget my aeronautical parts, but it didn't have the typical wings in the back, and there was no cockpit, no sound. It was floating real easy. And it was flying over restricted airspace because any refinery, you cannot fly over the refineries. That's a restricted airspace. So when this thing passed me, I was up on the decking of the tower of about 15, I guess, stories up, 150 feet, and I saw this thing. I kept watching it. I called the guys in the control room. I said, "Hey guys, there's something up here really interesting. You ever take a look at it?" And then they just laughed and they said, "There goes Dave with that UFO stuff again." So this thing flew past me, and then it just turned and went south real easy. And the next night, it gave me a dream. It told me that the plant was going to close, and it showed me walking through the plant. I was inspecting all the machinery, and it was all quiet. And I went in the control room, and all the lights were out. And I thought, wow, this plant is shut down. So they were pumping millions of dollars in the plant to kind of renovate it. And the guys told me I was crazy when I told them the dream. They said I was crazy. Well, I'd say 7 to 8 months or 9 months later, somewhere in there, the plant did close. And so it was kind of like deja vu when I walked in to get my stuff out of my locker. It was kind of weird. I think what they do when you run into UFOs, they download things to you. They also they know all about you. They track your, especially if you have an implant, in which I've had a couple of them. I might even have one or two in me now. I'm not sure, but I was able to dig out 2 of them. One in my left leg, back in 2011 or 2012. One of those, I got noticed. That was they seem to be able to follow you anyway. The DNA sequence. I guess we emit some kind of a frequency that they can pick up on. I also heard that when hybrids, these are humanoids that are either they call them shapeshifters or whatever, but I call them genetically designed aliens. And I ran into one of them, but they can actually tell. They can walk up around a crowd and they can tell the different glows that we have. In which, if they're going to be interested, they read your frequency to see if they would be interested in talking to you, or if you're what kind of a person you are. I had a guy come. He was in the Air Force out in New Mexico, and he told me that he was at this nightclub, and this gal who was very attractive, and he was with 2 other buddies from the Air Force, and he was actually working a top secret work there in the Air Force base. And he said to the gal, "I'll meet you later. Where are you staying?" He was in a motel then because he was in town just for a military meeting. And this gal says, "Well, I'll meet you." And he goes, "Yes, sure," because he didn't figure himself as a real attractive guy, but he figured her. He said she was really gorgeous, and so he said, 2 hours later, he got in his room. He wanted to go to sleep. He heard a knock on the door, and it was her. And he said, "Oh my God, she come and she spent about 2 hours, but she quickly went to the bed to mate. And then he said it's like it happened fast, and she got up and she was gone, and he never saw her again. So I think she was just, I guess, trying to multiply, what you may call it. But that I didn't have that with the hybrid aliens that I ran into in Sedona. So that's a different story. Any problems?
Uh-oh, she's not on mute.
She what?
Janet, can you go on mute? Well, here, I'll mute her. She must be away, but her stepped away. Sorry for that, Dave. That was Janet's phone. Okay.
Oh.
Matt, are you still here?
Oh, yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Well,
I kind of got the feeling that maybe I should stop here. I mean, I guess people are leaving the office there. No, but it's I can tell you from.
No, I'm here. I'm here. I
okay.
thought I was on mute. Am I on mute or am I? You can hear
well,
me.
your
Okay.
phone started. We could hear your phone.
My phone.
Yeah, I was talking to you and you
I'll
weren't
try
answering.
this other setting. Well, I couldn't because the phone had taken over my phone. The phone had taken over my phone. I couldn't answer.
Okay.
Okay,
Right.
I'll try this other. This is mute with the other way, so I'm going to be muted for a while until it's my turn. So, okay, I'm listening though. Bye. I'm going to mute.
Okay.
So, okay, we apologize, Dave. That was just her phone, but both have phones, and I don't want to tell you how many I've got. I'm embarrassed because it takes a lot to help people these days, and more than one anyway. Plus, we got mad with all our Skype calls around the world, but
right.
I will say while we had this little phone bell from Hawaii because we love Janet. But thank you everybody in Australia and the Emirates and Japan and Canada, and we appreciate all you guys. Apparently we're on a good topic tonight with Dave Emmons, EMMONS, and Dave, we're going to have him help us, at least maybe help report all the stuff he's talking about maybe. Dave, could you get in as a contributing editor on aliencontact.org? Yes or no?
Yeah, I will be looking at that and seeing how much in depth of work that will be. I'm doing, I guess, quite a few interviews. I'm doing one tomorrow, and I'll probably be doing more in the near future. I'm trying to get my pace down. I don't want to be rattling off a lot. I'm trying to get to where I can get to each event that happened in my life, but also explain some of the details that surround that. I'm a strong believer that you got to separate. Richard Dolan, I guess, has he's got an article out talking about, I guess, experiencers' stories to where they can be fantasy or misinformation. And I don't know if he was talking about the general public or he was talking about the people in the UFO, I guess, organization, the Talking Heads, book writers. I don't know if he was talking about them or talking about, the average Joe like myself having experiences. But
What did you ask him? Did you ask him?
No, I never asked him. I never asked him anything. No, I didn't. They don't usually answer anyway. They don't usually answer.
You can go on his channel on Richard Dolan on YouTube. I go when I get a live notice on him, but he's been on this channel, on this show.
What we're talking about is what I've noticed lately is that people are coming out and trying to determine if somebody else is real or fake, but I think everybody's story is everybody's story, and that's really nobody else's business, to label everybody that isn't some part of their group that they're fake, that's just bizarre. There's a lot of that in the Secret Space program. There's one people that come out saying it's my story is the only story. It's almost like my God's better than your God, my Jesus.
My God's better than your God.
Right.
Yeah, it's the God's.
And it's just bullshit. I'm sorry.
But
I don't think anybody's out purposely lying. This is not how you can have a good job. This isn't making you a lot of money. This is being vulnerable and sharing something.
Maybe making Richard. It may be making Richard money. You remember?
I have no idea, but it's like, why criticize somebody when you're not walking in their shoes? It's so easy to criticize people, but you're not walking in their shoes. You don't know what's going on. And I sense Dave and you, and I have a lot of experiencers come on my show, and they're very authentic. They're very real. This is not fun a lot of times to come out and say this. You're talking about things that are embarrassing, right? You know, having sex with an alien and they walk away. I mean, what do you have to do with that, right?
Yeah, that's happened to me too.
I'm going to make $1 million with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, explain what you heard.
I had sex with an alien.
Since you dropped his name, since you dropped Dave's name, why don't you, Dave? Since you dropped Richard Dolan's name, why don't you go ahead and explain what you're doing? He is an author.
You're breaking up. What did you?
Go ahead and explain what you're talking about, because he is a friend of mine, and he's an author, and he's been on here, and he's gotten married, and he's running his own YouTube and his own publishing company like I do. We all use electronic, but we do first in, first out. We do, everybody went to electronic publishing, so basically everybody is their own publisher, if you want to think about it, because you're doing your own design work and you're all using your own templates, and then all you do is submit it to a publishing house, usually Amazon, which is now Kindle electronically. I used Lulu in the beginning, but Amazon was doing all of that anyway, and they send it out to whoever's got the equipment around the country, the closest print place, and you get a copy and they put it in the mail. So that's how we're doing books these days, and it's expensive to house them, and we're just not doing that anymore.
I didn't read. I've seen so many names. There's so many names of authors in the UFO book area that if it was Richard Dolan, if he was repeating somebody else, I didn't read the article thoroughly. All I read was a heads up that that there is a lot of fantasies out there and misinformation. And I thought to myself, well, I've been doing a lot of talking about my experiences. So now I have to re-examine what's going on with I don't know if Dolan said it or he found out somebody else said it, or if that's the movement that's going on now within the UFO field. I didn't read the article fully, so
I don't think it's about you, Dave, in particular, so don't take it personally. But I think that's just a tendency that person number one, there's a new person coming in and they're criticizing person number two without really investigating that person to see, they didn't interview you, right? They didn't interview anybody that I know.
Right.
If they were to take the time and listen to their story, they might have a different perspective rather than, criticizing and saying, "Oh, they're fake, they're fake." It's like somebody that we know says fake news about everything.
Right.
No, not everything is fake news. No, you can't just label it. Take the time to investigate and see what's really going on. That's just my opinion.
Richard got started writing the books that he wrote based on what he could find as a historian, but he wasn't always a historian. But he got interested and would have to. I forgot his story, to be honest with you, even though it's on here. I can go back and listen to it because it's right here on our archives. I didn't get rid of it. I did delete Stan Friedman's by accident, so I apologize for that. And now that he's gone, that's going to be one reason I wished I would have it right here on the archives. But I believe, now that you can correct me if I'm wrong, but apparently you're saying you read something that Richard Dolan said, which doesn't surprise me because he worked with several people writing his books, getting a history of a linear timeline, including with Bill Ryan and the Avalon Group, and they're very choicey. I tried to join that once years back, and it was a good old boys network. They wouldn't let me in because I was a girl. So Carrie Cassidy started Project, her little group with Camelot, and Bill and she were partners. But Carrie and one of our other friends in this group, Ascension Center group out of Hawaii, Tommy Hawksblood, worked with me here on this radio channel and station, and he also worked for Carrie Cassidy. And the guy sitting here with us, Tom Becker, was her producer while she was over on Revolution or Freedom Slips, right? Ahmad, you did Carrie? years.
For about 5 years.
So you know all about how that part with Richard. You remember Richard was around back in the day, but he came in after me, long after me, out of Rochester.
I've had Richard on my show before.
Yeah, so we understand there is a division of various people inside Dave that are historians versus experiencers versus those that have been asked to track. And I was an analyst and observer and investigator, but I was a bona fide, meaning I got paid professionally. I made money investigating, which is a bad word to a lot of people, including MUFON investigators, because some of them are former police officers. And, you know, when I was in MUFON in 2008, people were dropping my name like I was somebody, and I was writing for UFO Digest in Canada, and I had to sort of put a stop to that because my name was being dropped in circles that I was like, I had no idea who these people were, you know. So I was like, why are you putting my name in these organizations with groups of people? It started to be some type of inner conflict of individual groups. So I have nothing bad to say about nonprofits, and I know MUFON's the biggest in the world right now that's still in existence. We had CSETI, and before that we had NIPRO. Is that the way you say it? I'm trying to remember all my UFO groups. But now I have UFO Association, and I actually started that back in the day with Richard Dolan and with Stan Friedman, and I had carte blanche for George Filer, Richard Dolan, and Stan Friedman as the first three when I was starting my business years and years ago and traveling around the country, coming out not as a paid professional, but as a partner with my husband to go and visit, you know, because I was looking into my own story based on the fact that I was a paid investigator, and then I went in and put a uniform on. Now, when you were in the Army, I understand you're like me, but now see, Dolan will be looking, he's talked to me and wanted to come get my story with me and my husband, but it wasn't for sale. In other words, I don't know what I was going to do with it, but he was collecting data as a historian. So same thing Linda Moulton Howe does. She has a degree like you in journalism, doesn't she, or in communications? But she
yes, she does.
So you know,
I believe she's got a master's degree. I'm just at a bachelor's, but I have I guess after that I had School of Hard Knocks for the other degree. So yeah, what I'm getting at, I guess, with I don't want to put a lot of weight on Dolan on this because I saw it in the Facebook where he said this disinformation was going around, and I don't know if it was the authors being burnt by some people that made up stories. But what I did is I took a look at myself, and being an investigative journalist, I take a look at myself and I say, hey, where do these things tie in? I mean, I think if you have a vivid dream and you're regressed, you go on a regression, and you see yourself on a ship, and you actually feel like you're there. Like I've done that 3 or 4 times, and I've actually felt like I was there on that ship, and when you see that, you say, well, where did that come from? Well, I just saw a UFO hovering above me. Well, that's the indicator that something is linked, and I have to find a linkage to all my dreams. And I've been abducted, I know, 3 times because of the electrical shock that I received. I've probably been abducted other times, multiple times. I've been hit by magnetic energy that makes you feel nauseous, makes you feel weak, and your body feels warm, and then you just kind of go out. But in one of my dreams I had where I actually asked a scientific friend of mine in New Mexico to explain this to me. I wrote to him and told him about my dream, or vivid dream, and after I told him how I felt, like when I stuck my arm through the steel door in my front room, and I was going out, I didn't want to hit my head, so I stuck my arm in first. I left it there, and I looked back, and by the time I turned back to my arm, I didn't see anybody behind me. Apparently, they made themselves invisible or whatever, but my arm was burning, and it was hurting, and I felt weak, and I felt hot flashes, and I felt nauseousness in my stomach, and then I finished walking through the door, and after I did that, I don't know what happened. I was beamed up, I guess. But the scientist told me, I don't want to mention his name or anything, but he told me that's not a dream. He said that actually happened. He said when you can feel things in a vivid dream, if you can feel hot, cold, or you get nauseous, or your head is like it's going to explode, and he says your body feels like it's really racing, he said that's not a dream. He said you don't have a lot of those sensations as a normal or a typical dream. A typical dream, I've had a lot of those, and a lot of times you'd feel like you've been killed or stabbed or hit in the head, but you don't feel anything. I don't know if you can relate to that, but a vivid dream, you can actually feel it because those are memories, actual memories of pain or some kind of physical symptom that you had during an abduction. And those are key factors to look for with an abductee is how did they feel? Did they feel some kind of a magnetic energy surround them? And did they feel weak? Did they feel hot, nauseous? So these are some of the things that I had to take a look at and say, yes, those are indicators that tells you, yeah, you've been abducted. But a lot of times if you have a nightmare and you wake up and you can remember the nightmare, but it really didn't happen, there's certain things that ties to that nightmare, maybe a seed that is planted from a movie you saw that day or the day before, and you have a nightmare of it 2 days later. If you can find a seed, but some of my vivid dreams, there's no way I could have even written that on a script. I mean, it was something that I saw that I've never seen before and I never heard of before. I could have never written it. These are also details, the strange details of a vivid dream and regression. The key is regression on these vivid dreams with people who've seen UFOs close to them. Dr. David Jacobs, who I admire a lot, and I talked to him, had a chance to talk to him about my regressed dreams, and he told me, he says, there's a lot of people, he said half of the people that's been abducted, they don't even really know it. And he said there are another 25%, he said, like me, they leave me bits and pieces, or you actually know you've been abducted. And then there's another group of people who've got marks on them. They got they've been hurt, they've been grabbed, but we none of us really know the real truth about, I guess, one another. One, like we were talking earlier, that someone that comes out with a story, and I talked to two experiencers today. I'm sharing with them, and these guys have had some experiences of their own, and one of them had a couple of hybrid children, and I don't want to mention his name until I ask him permission. He could come on your show sometime. He's actually he's got a PhD in, I think it's archaeology. I'm not sure, but he's a very sharp man, and he's been around for a while. And I talked to him about that. And I talked to another MUFON director down south today as an experiencer, and they're all kind of claiming the same thing, that there is, with an abduction, there's always other clues that follow that abduction. And if people really want to know if it's real or not, then they have to look back and say, well, did I see a UFO? How close was it? Did I see something weird that approached me? It could even be a hybrid alien here. And there's a lot of them here walking amongst us. 1 out of 10, somebody said, I don't know if that number is correct, but I ran into one, and I've seen some other strange people, but it's so you don't really know. Even a hybrid can put things in your memory, upload or download from you, and see right through you. The hybrid I ran into, her eyes were so glaring and so strong, I had to turn my head. I said, wow. I said, Hiroko, you better chill your eyes, would you? I said, wow, they're piercing. And I thought I had piercing eyes. I thought I always had a third eye, and I do, but not like what she did. I mean, she had power and control that just made me feel everything's okay. Don't go for your ball bat. Don't go for your camera, although I did get pictures of her. So that's the one I ran into in Sedona. But I'm getting to the point where these guys told me today, these experiencers, they said it's a tough area. You go in and you talk about your experiences, especially if you've had several like me. Lindenwood told me I'd have a hard time I belong to a small group because I've had not one, not two, not three, but I've had about 6 or 7 encounters, and she said that's going to be overwhelming to some people, and I said, well, I'm going to give it a try. What's that?
They call them lifers.
Yeah,
I'm a lifer. I've lived my whole life on and off the planet, in and out of body. So working with people that are just as real and feel and touch, just like you said, and it seems to be like another reality, but it's not. So in uniform and out of uniform, at first my husband and I thought they were playing tricks on us, because when you do it in this reality, you tend to not believe it. You think it's some type of experiment, which your training tells you it can't be happening. But it's like you said, there is a difference, and that's what got me involved with all of this. Was I had a mission to help bring in the Ascension Age and alien civilizations exist, which is why I use ACO and ACE, and I use my information and my brands or my logos, and then I'm using the one that we wore off planet just to bring it into reality, because if I don't do it, who is? Because everybody has their own story. So people say, why don't you bring something back? Well, they don't let you, at least the ones that are extremely brilliant that I've worked with. And I've surmised that a lot of them, because they've lived forever, they send you down here, and the ones I've worked with understand the soul. So I have to believe in reincarnation as part of the extraterrestrial existence. So I think Dave, what you brought up is the fact that it's not one thing or the other. We're just now getting where MUFON is just separating with Kathy Martin and how people fit in as therapists, working with people in the Me Too generation, versus those, in other words, telling stories just like you see in movies, versus whether they did get it. Did they sleep? Were they influenced by a dream? Is it part of their mind that's created another subpersonality? So we're looking at, not just the psychology of it, but we're studying the mind and all the neurons that we play with in this reality, plus photons, and what causes the light and the dark, and all the quantum physics, and how we can be in two places at once. So what I started calling myself, rather than a walk-in or a hybrid, is a bilocator, because I'm starting to realize anybody can do what I do, and that could be part of the advancement in the ascension process. Have you heard of people in the ET, or I call it alien ET UFO community, but have you heard of them talk about the ascension process and learning how to raise your consciousness outside of world religions? Ascension is crystal life, but Buddhist,
yes, I've heard of that.
The wheel of life. So it's just terminologies, but we're learning how to form a new, it's not our philosophy or religion or talk, because it's all the same thing, but it's learning how to communicate our vibrations and our rhythms, and that we're more than just in our 3D biological. Now that we understand we're not just inside our brain or inside our body, right? Or 6 feet around us. So people are learning they're more than that. So I believe you and I and Janet and Tom here are all part of the new reality. It's not really new. It's new to us as individuals, but we're just learning to talk to each other about what we're experiencing. So you're saying a lot of things that need to be said, and I get to hear it, and then realize you're talking about the same thing I do, but just different places. I put it in my storage facility. How's that? In my container.
Right.
How one assimilates their own personal life story. So when did you start doing this? You personally go back, like Janet and I are writing a book, Back to the Crib, but are you saying that as far as your memories are concerned, your consciousness, do you remember your first encounter of something other than inside yourself, like being taken or abducted at the age of 14, and you started research at that age? Or what was it?
Yeah, I didn't start my research at 14 years of age. I was just a kid, and I was just really amazed at what I saw, but I didn't know the depth of what I saw, and I didn't do any research at that time. I just went on about it. But going back, my mom said I was born with gray sideburns, and she said my sideburns were just as gray it can be. And I saw a baby on board a ship. I call it a Noah's Ark ship, and I saw a baby with 3 eyes. And I looked in between these two. They looked like females that had white smocks on. And I looked between them, and I saw a baby there about 6 months old that had 3 eyes. And I thought that was a message to me that my third eye is being, I guess, getting more strength from my encounters. I feel that. I actually feel. I had talked to one experiencer today that said that your IQ actually goes up when you have some of these encounters. And I felt that when I joined the Army, when I was 18, 19 years old, I joined the Army because I was going to get drafted. I come from a poor family. We had 11 kids in the family. And when I was going to get drafted, I went ahead and joined with my brother. Well, we took the test. They give you a lot of paper exams and then physical exams in the Army before you can even get in. And we went to the recruiter, and he told me, he handed me a paper. He said, "You can do anything you want." He said, "You scored the highest that we can get." And he said, "What would you like to have?" And I said, "Well, nuclear weapons." And so I was sent to, after a top secret security clearance, I was sent to Huntsville, Alabama, Redstone Arsenal. After my basic training and my top secret come in, I had to wait a long time for that. It took them 6 months to get that top secret. So I finally got it, went to Redstone. But then I was only 19 at the time. I was probably the youngest guy in the class. Most of them had master's degrees, and a couple of them had bachelor's degrees. And here I was, just a high school education, and I passed, and I got a high enough grade to get into that elite class. I didn't like it because I had military intelligence every week interview us, hand us cigarettes and sodas and stuff, and talk to us. They're just testing us, see how much they can trust us. So I didn't like that kind of pressure, and I wanted to drop out of the class and go to another job in the military. And I had an 89% average, so they wouldn't let me drop. So I had to go to the chaplain on post to get me out of that class. And it just so had, at that time, my brother was in the Army with me. His wife was going to have a baby. And he got orders for Vietnam, and I was there waiting for orders. And I told the captain, I said, "Go ahead and get me the orders for Vietnam because I want to stop my brother from going to Vietnam because he's having a child and I was still single." So I went to Vietnam, and I served as a platoon sergeant. And when I come back to Fort Benning, after a few months there, they wanted to commission me as a lieutenant. And that rarely ever happens. You get a field commission like that quick. So I turned it down because I didn't want to go back to Vietnam. So that was part of my military background. And I don't know if I should have stayed with it. I was going to go out to Sandia, New Mexico, after the training in Huntsville, but I didn't want to do it. It was just that's why I guess the guys that were 24, 25 had a little bit more seasoning than I did, and I just didn't want to go and be involved in that much responsibility at a young age. But, yeah, I feel that these guys I talked to today, they actually told me that they feel like they're being questioned, sometimes laughed at, and I know the feelings. In small groups, when I spoke in front of small groups, you would see some people roll their eyes, and you would like to say, "Okay, this meeting's over with," and just walk out. It happens that way a lot of times. You got half of the population that don't believe, the other half will believe, and I like it when people say, "Well, I really don't believe, but if I see it, I'll believe it." I like that answer. I don't like the answer saying, "Oh, you're crazy," That's not the answer we're looking for, and so many of us experiencers, you have to be bold to come out. And I've been saying all along I believe in UFOs, and I saw them, and I know they're there, and people always thought I was crazy, but they would move on. And I got into serious research starting in 2009, I guess you could say, and that's when I was running into a lot of things those 3 or 4 years. But yeah, it's something for its experiencer. It's hard to explain. It's hard to get people to believe.
Now? Is your research a hobby? Are you retired and your research is a hobby?
Yes. I'm retired, and I've been out west. I went out there quite a bit in '08 through 2012. I went out there almost once, twice a year out to Sedona, and I wanted to collect that magic that I had out there. And matter of fact, I had a chance to talk to two people. I can't mention their names, but I asked them if they ever saw hybrids out there, and they live out there, and they said yes. I've been Africa.
Sedona.
What's that?
I saw some little grays out in Sedona.
Yeah.
At the America, they approached me when I came through there at that. What is that called? America, Little America.
Yeah.
So and what's so funny is I was talking. The phone. They saw me right before I went and talked to the lady that was running the museum. I had already left Roswell. It wasn't at the time that I'd been to Roswell. It was a later time, which was strange. They wanted me to come and be a speaker, and my husband said no way, But she happened to call me and got my number right when they showed up. So I wondered what that was about, because it makes you wonder how many different species you work with, or are you working with them, or are they controlling you? So this is what we're looking at now, is so many people coming forward with the various stories in the various groups that they're part of. And so it's pretty much an understanding that they've been coming and going for millions of years, right?
Yes, and they're here with us, actually.
What was that? So
what's that?
It's not that uncommon what we're talking about now. And Janet's been trying to get me to talk about it for years.
You're
but I'm
breaking
only...
up.
Yeah, you're breaking up.
Breaking
Yeah.
up too.
Oh, okay. That's Ahmad was telling me something. There he comes. Okay, Ahmad. There
I'm going to be on mute for a little bit, okay? Mute.
Okay, well, this is Ahmad coming back on. He had been gone. Are you back on now, Ahmad?
I hope, anyways. The internet, you know how that goes.
Okay, so I apologize, Ahmad. So I didn't know. They said I was breaking up, but you were coming on Skype again because I called in, and I don't know how all this works since I called in direct. Do you? I'm not talking on the phone. I'm talking directly into the computer, but I don't know how that works. I have no idea. It's not Skype. Some direct line.
No.
Right.
No, they're using a telephone line is all.
Okay, I just hit it. They say a direct line. I'm on my computer.
Yeah.
All right, but when you came in on Skype, it apparently affected the sound. I don't understand all this.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're all sound waves. We're all doing radio waves. But Dave, Tom, you haven't had any physical reality in your mind, at least, that you can't really recall any missing time either, right? Tom, what part of the mind or your reality are you working with? I don't know how to get there, but since you're a writer and an author, I know you have all the tools. So you go somewhere to get your pictures, right? Your imagination, or tell me how you break it up, if you don't mind sharing.
I see a lot of it. I see a lot of that stuff in my dreams.
Okay, so Dave, you being a journalist, apparently you're talking to people. It must be on Facebook, but you're doing some kind of research. I don't spend a lot of time talking to people unless Janet brings them on the show. Mad's been spending years doing it. I'm just really getting into it in the last 7 years. But how do you, what would you tell a Mad if these things are happening to him in his dreams? He picks up beautiful artwork, ships, aliens. He draws them, and we've got him now in our graphic department, but he also runs all the radio airwaves. But I feel like he's chosen and called to do it. What would you say? Where would you classify him? Not 1 to 5. He's an experiencer.
He's apparently into the telepathic part of it. He's being given information from up above, and that's them. That's the aliens. That's what Werner von Braun called. They asked him where he got all of his knowledge. He put his finger in the air and he said, "Them." They told me. Yeah. And also Tesla said the same thing. Said he got messages when he went to sleep. He would get messages from up above, or he even said them or they or something. He had the same terminology. And then you had Edison, who had all of his. He made all his inventions, he said, during his sleep. So whatever Matt is getting, he's getting information from outside. He's able to be a receiver and receive that information. I think that's great, because actually those are the types of things that changes our society, the inventions and the new things like the light bulb, the airplane. I think actually it's coming from a source telepathically and recorded in our minds, and it stays there, because the next morning you wake up, and I know Matt, if he wakes up and he has this vision, and then he can go and draw it right away. And that's being, you're given information, you're sent as like a genius. I mean, I think they up there make geniuses. I don't want to displace God in any of this. I think I found a lot of things that happened to me being very spiritual, and then you were talking about spirits a while ago, and I saw another Japanese young fella in Sedona the next following year after the young lady, and he was kind of strange in a way, and he said, I told him, he said, well, a lot of Japanese are kind of like that. They kind of stay to themselves, and they're kind of quiet, especially if they got a big name in Japan. And I said, well, she come and visited my house 6 months later with two other younger Japanese young guys. And then his eyes got real big, and he almost choked on his cigarette. He was, puffing a cigarette. He said, well, he says, he kind of stuttered. He said, well, most aliens believe in reincarnation. It's funny that you say that. He said that, and I think it was weird for him to say that. He was supposed to have been some professor associate that helped a professor, and just him saying that and acting funny. The next day I wanted to talk to him, but he stayed out of my way. He was gone. So that was a strange encounter also. I didn't count it as strange, but I found it strange that he said that most aliens believe in reincarnation.
And then I guess I told you something similar. Yeah, that's definitely
right.
part
of
it.
You said reincarnation.
It wasn't in the beginning. I didn't even know what reincarnation was. I was christened in a Baptist church, First Baptist in Monroe, Louisiana, and then baptized at Trinity Baptist in West Monroe, Louisiana. But it had nothing to do. You have your from 0 to 7, like the Jews say, give me your children till age 7, and I will show you the man, or create they create the person on earth in the first 7 years, right? They have certain programming. But as an adult, and you start thinking outside the box, or outside your education and outside your religious or your culture, that's what I started doing, was an open mind. But my open mind from NASA and knowing about UFO people and then dying, I started putting it together. And then putting it together with my out-of-body near-death and my sightings, and then hearing what was said in NASA, and then them being interested in me because I'd see UFOs a lot and they wouldn't. I put it all together and started doing my own research, but I wasn't allowed to talk about it by the attorneys or the government or the invest. I was there to do a job. My job was just get the facts, ma'am. Like
right.
Dragnet. Remember Dragnet?
Right. Yes.
So
yes, that's how I was taught in journalism.
Go ahead.
Just get the facts any way you can. Make the questions short and sweet. Don't give them a yes or no out. You have to make them explain it. Just don't say yes or no. So that's how I was trained to investigate people. Is you say you've been abducted by a UFO, and if they say yes, then leave it at that. Well, you're not getting any information. You're not getting all the background information that led up to that abduction or after the abduction effect. But yeah, it's reincarnation is something I think I'm thinking about. I'm not quite sure. I know you raised up in a strict Baptist church, because Baptists are very strict. But I was a Catholic, and then I went to, I guess, just being a Protestant right now at this time. But I kind of don't. I believe in spirituality more than I do religion. I'm more of a person who, if I start my prayers out, I say God of gods, because the ancient people, getting back in history, the ancient people called the UFO ET people, they call them gods. And so if you watch Ancient Aliens, that's all they talk about is ancient archaeology and the past and how it ties together with ETs throughout the thousands of years of them inserting themselves into our DNA and also our technology. And I strongly believe that they were here before us. So that's the big thing. The big question is, how did everything else come about? Is everything else, are we trained on things like religion and stories and history? Is it all correct? And a lot of scientists are saying not now, because they're finding out there's a lot of things that are different. It's like they thought the Indians were the first here in America, where they really weren't. The Vikings were here, and then there was a tall, what they call a giant, a 9-foot human that was here, and they found bones of these large people here before the Indians. And the Indians killed them off some way or another because I guess threatened by these big, humanoids. So we don't really know what history really is all about. We don't have all the answers about ETs and UFOs either. We don't really know their agenda. We know what they're doing, but we don't know why. Some of the things you can figure out in DNA, and also if they collect eggs or semen, they do that for reproduction with hybrid. We have that figured out. A lot of things we don't have.
Different groups do different things. From what my little bit of research, are just running across it as an investigator in and out of the country, in and out of military bases, is the fact that they come for various reasons. Various groups do different things. The group I work with just happened to be said they found us here millions of years ago, and so we don't know if they're the Anunnaki, or because they don't tell you. I just know that they were the Allied Command and the Supreme Allied Command, and they answered galactically. So I was recruited into what's called the Allied Council Intergalactic Relations, meaning to do public relations between them and the world or the planet. So they raised me as a child to be an ambassador. But I have friends of mine as investigator out of Houston, Daryl Sims. I told him he was going to be my first alienologist in my company. And he is, Daryl Sims. I just deleted alienhunters.org, by the way. I'll have to boot it back up, but I'll let him know I deleted his website for Alien Hunters, because we're going to do alien contact now with you if you can keep helping us write a journalistic thread. I like what you're doing, but I'm trying to build a company that makes it acceptable for the dimensions and the quantum physics, and I love physics and how we speak in words and ancient history cultures, Hebrew, Greek, Latin, and prior to that, Sumer and the Akashic records. We say that the A field with Yon, off planet, and Samaria, and Atlantis and all that. So we've got all the ancient history, and now we're going to rewrite it. So now we've got the people like Neil deGrasse Tyson and Michio Kaku taking over. Since we don't have anybody out there in entertainment that's changing it too much. I mean, I can drop a bunch of other names, folks, but these are the ones you've heard in our cyberspace right now. NASA's doing their part, and we're going to be doing it. We're the boots on the ground. Janet, Ahmed, and me. Now, Dave, would you consider you one of us, that you're boots on the ground with what we call the grassroots movement? Aren't you?
Yes, and I think my personal experiences keeps pushing me to find the truth and find out what is really going on. They say, "Aren't you afraid of these ETs?" I've been scared. Really scared by some of these abductions, but I'm not afraid to meet this head on and try to figure out what's going on. If an alien walked into this door right now, I probably wouldn't be hysterical. I would probably think, okay, that's part of the plan. So I wouldn't be afraid of the aliens, and because I guess I've been, after this long being in touch with them and in and out of that dimensional field with them, I feel like, okay, I've had enough. I'm ready to face you. So I just don't like the reptilian, the cobra-looking things.
I've
I saw
never come
one.
across any of those. Absolutely not in my brain, in this existence, in space. I got to see on a video what I described to Janet, but Janet has seen them in her life, but not me. Now, she had David Icke staying at her house, and Janet has her own story to tell. She even put in, I don't know if she covered that, but I don't deal with that. That's her department. But I deal with the ones that look like us. I deal with the giants because they're tall, and the ones probably found, they may be the ones they call the Nephilim. I don't know. But the one that I saw the most of was sort of rude. But the ones in Area 51, they apparently come and go. I told people they were coming for vacation, but they're very protective of their children, right? And the only person I know that's talked about the children was Charles Hall, that come out and look at the balloons that he was setting off, But they had the same equipment I did as far as and my husband, but the extraterrestrials take them back. They won't let you keep it. But when you're traveling and when you come down, you can wear this suit that's adhered to your skin. And then it allows you to gravitate or levitate. But I did that once, not realizing, but that I already had it in my mind. But I do a lot of it when I'm traveling at night. Sound crazy as heck. But I do a lot of levitation and traveling. But believe it or not, I feel the ground. I feel when I'm going around wires. And on some planets, there's still telephone wires, just like we used to have. Well, I guess we still do in a lot of places. And some of them are buried underground, but some, you know what I'm talking about. The ones used to be telephone lines, they bury now, but they used to be on poles. And some power poles. But I do all that in this reality, but I'm just going to talk about it and let people think I'm crazy, because I'd rather be crazy than the normal that we grew up in. Like you said, I was pretty strict. It was Southern Baptist. It's Trinity Southern. Yeah, and we didn't smoke, we didn't drink, but that was real odd for us. And broke cigarettes out at the front door. And I know that the night before, all the Masons were at my dad's house playing poker or something with beer. So, they had these free secret societies, but yet when they went to church, they were deacons and collected the money and acted all in their suits. So in the 50s, right? So I think a lot of us remember those days now, but you're Catholic, and my mother wouldn't let us be Catholic. We were told we were Protestants. Of course, we were pretty much English and Irish from the old country, but we were Now, a lot of friends are Catholic. I got crosses in my house. Now, as a Latter-day Saint, we were not allowed to do anything with crosses. Plus, we couldn't wear them, and then the government didn't push them because we worked so much with the oil fields for the Bush people, with the Arabians, right? The people over in, well, you know what I'm talking about. Arabian, the oil people, but they're part of this planet, right? There's plenty of them on the planet. I didn't meet any of them up there in space, but I did meet people wearing uniforms, and I met them in plain clothes. So in my mind, it doesn't matter what race of humanoid, meaning head, 2 arms, 2 legs, the star pattern. It doesn't matter whether they're civilian or military trained. They're both working together to keep the planet going, and they all survive on some type of exchange program, meaning credits or money or some type of, it's all, even in space, it's still products and services, just like on this planet. So it's whatever you need to be a sentient being. So have you, can you share anything as a journalist and I call you an alienologist because you study the culture. Is that the only first one was Daryl, and I'm accepting you into my group as the ACO journalist because you're under alienologist. Now, are you okay with that term? Janet and I are just everything, but I mean, for the sake of this show, Alien Contact Organization, alienologist.
Yes, that's fine. You're breaking up more. Sometimes I'm getting some of the words and sometimes I'm not. Yeah. I'm
sorry, so I won't do this direct. Okay, I'm going to call back in. I'm going to put this on host. Janet, say hi to Matt. He's back.
Yeah,
I'm
hi.
Call back in.
Yeah, my experience is that connection is kind of sketchy. Did the same thing with me. Okay, so I'm back. So I had to take a little break here and do something, but I'm back. So what were you guys talking about? Where are you in this discussion? Did you finish your story?
We were talking about me being an alienologist, and she was talking about Daryl being a journalist and alienologist, and talking about me studying society. I guess I do that on a daily basis, not on a professional basis, but on just receiving these things from other people and from other. Like I'm doing research right now. I'm talking to as many as experiencers as I can to get what they went through, and also to get their ideas. And most of the time when we talk, we're actually sharing the same thing. And they would say, "My goodness, that's what I experienced," or "That's how I thought," or "That's how I felt." And it's great to hear that. Just like it makes you not be all alone in this area of being an experiencer. But yeah, that's what's good about talking to other experiencers, and I do that a lot on. I got to talk to a couple more guys, I guess, tonight and tomorrow. But what I'm doing is just getting a background on other experiencers. I'm talking about experiencers who I guess have come out. They've written a book, or they've done a lot of writing on the internet, and I'm talking about those people that have come out. Now, I wish there'd be a lot more people coming out. I'm sure. There's probably.
What would you like to ask me and TJ? We're both experiencers. What would you ask me?
I would ask you what. First of all, what type of alien did you see when you were abducted? And then I would ask, how did you feel? I'd ask your feelings, and then
Let me
ask
answer.
you. Okay.
Let me answer. Yeah, pretend you're interviewing me.
Okay.
So, I saw every kind imaginable. I saw species that we haven't even cataloged yet. But the main primary ones I interacted with, and I still interact with, are the Anunnaki. There's several varieties of what you might call gray species. Some of them are really tall, extremely tall, and thin. They tend to be very thin. They're kind of androgynous. You can't really tell their sex. It's not apparent, but when you communicate with them, they tend to have maybe a little bit more masculine than feminine, or vice versa. I've interacted with mantis beings and reptilian beings, and I've been to large council meetings with just maybe 20 people, 20 to 30 people. Been to super large conventions with over 100,000 unique species. And when I ask them how many are here, they will answer. Because it's like, well, I can't count this. How many are here? So I've been to a large meeting with over 1,000 Anunnaki and a variety of other species underneath an underground military installation. So I've had a wide variety of experiences. How did I feel? I have predominantly good experiences. There were some experiences early on when I was trying to integrate things like dealing with reptilians, and I was afraid because they were so foreign looking. The ones that are more humanoid, they're easier to integrate. But at first I was very terrified of this one reptilian fellow, but he worked with me for my entire life, and so I came to understand that the reason why I felt so terrified is that they have this raw form of telepathy that has no filters. And so when they communicate with you, they get your whole essence. It's like there's nothing left of you. And it feels almost like they're sucking your soul on your body, but it's just so intense. Okay, go ahead. What's your next question? I'm sorry, we're having a bad connection. Do you have a fan going or something?
I don't.
Yeah, I do. So I took off my head. Let me turn it off.
No, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. Yeah, we're getting your fan. That's much better. Wow.
I took off my head. I had took off my headset, So
No,
I apologize. I'll put my headset back on.
Else.
All right. Well, I'm trying to figure all this out, folks. That's the one that was breaking up, I think, was my headset. But when I talk, I'll get on this phone. So I'm mad with what we're building, folks. I'll put my headset on. But hold on. I get interesting. Wait, this is confusing me.
Oh. Just put your headset on.
All right.
So let Dave ask the questions that he asked these people, because that's what he's doing. He's investigating. So go ahead and ask TJ those 2 questions that you asked me.
Okay. I asked what type of aliens you've seen and how you felt about the meeting, and then and the third question is did you feel any biological differences in your body or emotional differences? Was it spiritual or was it a painful memory?
I'd say mine was mostly spiritual, and then the one that I felt was, or I was afraid, I worked through it. I worked through it with my hypnotherapist later on, which I highly recommend to people. Go get some therapy, hypnotherapy. Okay, over to you, TJ. And I'm going to go on mute so I don't make background noise.
Okay. The way I felt regarding seeing aliens was at home, because the first one was when I was a child I played with, so I was trained by another child, and I was shocked that my mother couldn't see him. He would leave and go, and I called him Leo or Cleo, because now that I'm old and start to write books about that, I don't know how to express the name Leo or Cleo with a seer, but anyway, I was exasperated that she couldn't see him when I went to get in the car, and she told me to stand up, and I wanted him to go, and I realized she couldn't see him. But I knew, so that would be what's called, where's that coming from?
Yeah, well, there's been a lot of cases like that of small children having a friend or a buddy with them, and nobody can see them, but only they can see them. So there has to be some truth to that, is what you're saying, what you experienced.
Yeah, and then now remember, I'm a lifer. I'm a bilocator. Are you hearing me okay?
So I'm still getting static every once in a while.
Okay, it's this headset. Might be you know how sometimes the cords break? I may need a new one.
Right.
And I'm hearing feedback from something. Let me turn my phone off. That's not it. Interesting. All right, well, let me turn my sound down. Can you hear feedback, Ahmad?
No, I hear you okay now.
Okay. And so that was the first one. And then when I was taken up at 4 on a ship, standing there, I wanted to go with them. So I felt like they were my family, and they made me come back down to the planet. And so I'm like the Allie Clark in the movie Taken. So, but I came back down, and then when I died in the 2nd grade, I saw angels and felt like they were my family. So that was just understanding I was outside my body, but I could see them. But I didn't leave the planet. So then I willed myself to White Sands. That's where I found my uncle the most, and I went out there and went to the sand dunes and saw them again, my family again. And when they landed the ship, and I would learn some stuff on ship with some other kids and came off. And my uncle went back, and they weren't allowed to talk about flying saucers, but they put the other 2 kids to sleep. So I had a kid, 10 and 13. So what I felt there was chosen and different, because the other 2 children, I was showing them as the UFO came overhead, or flying saucer. And then it went down in between them. And we were way up in the White Sands and Big Dune. And so they saw it fly over, but the 2 kids went to sleep. But I was smart enough to know, I don't know if I was about 9 or 10, that, no, I must have been younger than 10, because the boy was 10 and the girl was 13, that I felt that, I tried to wake, come on. They just got sleepy like the poppy field in Wizard of Oz. You know how the kids just or the whatever they are, way down in the Wizard of Oz. That's what they did. And I thought,
Right. Mm-hmm.
but I could feel being compelled to go down to the ship. So I visited with them, and then when I came back up, and then they left, then the kids got up. So, but I felt at home. Then, let's see, that was then. Then when they'd fly over in Houston, I went and had a couple of tattoos put with 3 dots, so I remember the 3 dots on both my hands, above my thumb, for the 3 dots. And so I knew the difference because they'd fly over and there'd be no sound, and they'd let me know they were there. And I knew they weren't reverse technology, but because I saw the real deal and was educated, I was educated at that young level, but I also had skills and were twirling batons and fire batons. So the Men in Black came and visited my school, but remember, well, you don't know this, but I was around NASA people. So the NASA people weren't allowed to talk about anything that they knew about people like me. So I got to come and go and be with people, but they'd call me into meetings with very important people. So I understand them, how I'm connected to them. So I felt special. I felt connected, but I didn't understand it. But because my uncle in Los Alamos told me, we don't talk about it and all that, and my mother did, my grandmother did. So I always felt included in a group that not everybody knew about, and so I just accepted it. So when I would be around them, now later on, when I went to where you talk about Richard Dolan and Rochester, New York, that's when the big one like Men in Black came up, a big white light, and they froze people at the Palmview Heights. And that's when MUFON got involved when they came to Hawaii and wanted to hear about that, because this was way before Men in Black movie. But I looked and I saw the people, and I went in and called 911. And so they said they hadn't seen anything, but the light was white and it had 2 red ones come up. One go one way and sit, and one go the other way and sit. So one went towards Canada and one went towards the USA, right? I was right close to the border, close to Niagara Falls and Rochester. So my kids saw it too. So they saw the ones. We moved to Birmingham, Alabama when I was going to college, and we had flyovers. So we were custom and my kids. So we felt, there they are, Mom. So we just laugh about it. So we were just included in a part of life. So then, as I grew up and went out to Hawaii, I decided I wanted to learn about them. In college, I went to Hawaii. I took a path, and I did get to go out there and see domes and other dimensions. And I started doing artwork and like a mad. I got paid to do it, and a girl put me in the Hawaii group for artwork. So it made me draw things and receive pictures that I hadn't seen. We didn't have the internet, Google, and all that, and I didn't think I'd been out there traveling. But when I had done some paintings of Mars, and people were shocked because girl framed them and put them in our big house in Kahala in Hawaii, and people came in and said that was exactly the pictures they had seen of Mars, and I had just done it by hand. People said, no, we saw her do it. It was right out of her head. So I did a lot of that. So people started buying my artwork, and I started a whole movement for the Ascension Age. And so I started teaching psychics, and then the government Men in Black started showing up, and because I was doing readings, and then Michael Jackson showed up, and I did readings for him and helped him. So I learned I had skills, so I started a global corporation movement in alternative leather, because the ETs I worked with didn't know why we were killing trees. So what I did was I got smarter and did start asking questions with what we called the Eco Expo. We had a big event about alternative, and I created the World Information Network for people that were all in big movements like New Age. So I changed reality, and then I walked away from that, and I've just started doing books and started writing for UFO Digest when they had me go to Roswell. So they had me go explain some stuff to Glenn Dennis before he died, and they will tell me when people are going to need help or need to know something. I've been a messenger So I think there's a lot to the messengers in the Bible, the angels are messengers, because I have that feeling of being a part of a family that can help people on the planet. So that's pretty much it, Dave. And now what I'm doing is just helping with communication and trying to get us where we know that there's levels of existence that a lot of people haven't been able to accept about themselves. And that just being in a container isn't all, it's just the beginning, and we do it over and over. That's why I believe in reincarnation now. But
right.
I didn't have any bad things, though. Go ahead.
No, I haven't either, but a lot of people say they have been tortured and hurt, and they say the reptilians are mean. I just saw one short reptilian in my bedroom when I woke up, and I looked over, and he was just standing there looking at me, and he looked so much like a cobra, it scared me to death. I mean, I'm a big guy, but I jumped about 3 or 4 feet out of that bed. I was so afraid it was a big snake, but it was then it disappeared. But playing the alienologist here, as you want me to do, I've got a couple of questions on what you were saying. You said something about angels. Can you describe the angels you saw? Were they like what they picture?
Well, I learned through this reality that the wings in my reality, because I was trained on the planet by humans, and I was educated in Europe, and I had to go to the Louvre, and I had to see the Mona Lisa and pictures, and I had to get the history of the Catholic Church and all the pictures they kept with blood and guts, and it was really hard for me to be indoctrinated into world religions because of the angels, but they didn't have wings, and so I was educated in world religions that those are artist rendition, just like the halos that they put over them. So as far as having wings and having halos, no, because I was a child when I first saw the first ones. They were human, but they were the first ones I saw were holographic, and they looked just like us, but you could sort of see through them. So I didn't learn about holograms till I worked off planet, and before it was after Star Trek, because they were questioning Star Trek and Star Wars and my husband. So the ones that worked with me on the planet, unless they took me exactly on a ship, meaning here in this reality, right? But the others, I don't know that they would be called angels. The only ones I called them extraterrestrials, or my family. But the only ones I called the angels were the ones that came into the room, and I was in a Catholic church, and I told my mother at the time I saw angels. But the Catholic Church wanted to take me to Italy, like the children that saw visions and heard things. So it was a real hard thing to talk about getting not taken, because I had died with hepatitis. So I believe in angels, but I believe they're messengers and they can come and go.
Right. Yeah, I also believe in angels, that they intercede when it's not your time to go and something just didn't happen right and you're about ready to die. They intercede and keep you alive because it's not your time. We all have a time. I guess we have to go. Another question I want to ask, Theresa, is you were talking about Mars, and I guess let's just don't say President Trump, but others in the Pentagon are talking about having a space force. What do you think that's all about, since you know that there's something on Mars, and a lot of people think there is? I see a lot of pictures of things up there, but the rover has taken, and a lot of people are zooming in on them. There was a culture up there that come here because they find the same statues and the same, iconic emblems in stone up there. So what do you think, what is the space force going to do?
Well, it's going to do the same thing it's always done. We're millions of years old, and we're not just in this one habitat. So we have humans, like the humanoids and sentient beings all over the universe and other universes. Now, this is in my educational process, but in this reality, before I was born, I was told I was known. So, and then I found out on my own when you say the veil drops in this reality, when you think you're only human and you get programmed, like politics, education, your matrix that's created for you the reality for the sheeple, right? The people are sheeple.
Right.
That reality is separate than the reality that is real. It's sort of, so the Mars story for me is I came into this reality, but I found out inside the Matrix, this feeling inside me that made, and I was raised Christian, so I didn't believe in reincarnation, but I had this deep story in my soul. I don't know how to explain it, that we came from Mars. So when I was growing up, there was Isaac Asimov and Arthur C. Clarke and Heinlein, all these people that were writers, and I saw movies and television shows. But in my mind, I always knew that part of me and my DNA was from Mars. So to me, we came from Mars, but I believe it's in a lot of people's psyche, or it's in our DNA, maybe coding, like you'll see dogs turn a circle before they lay down, or slow to the water. My dog's real slow moving to a bowl of water. These are things I think inherently are some things, like we have hair go up on the back of our neck. Whatever I'm trying to tell you, Dave, is that these are ingested or invested or in our DNA or coded. And so everybody has a Mars story. They'll get around if they are regressed or have a history. But I was actually up, and Janet likes to tell the Mars story, but all I did was when I was on the spacecraft, we moved over close to Mars, right, for a while. But that's when people were, C-SETI was coming along, and I went and linked to Ames when I called them about microwaves and how they were looking at, dumb things like radio waves and stuff. But Mars, to me, had an underground, I think at one time, and this would be somewhere in our ancient world history or billions of years, it was like in the habitable zone. So my story differs because I do believe a planet was hit where we have the belt, I guess. I believe something hit that. But in my reality,
right,
is that I did at one time have part of me, or my ancient, when you go back to your mother and then they're her mother and mother and mother and brother, all the way back, is the fact that some of those people that are like me, that are in this DNA, your genealogy, were on Mars. Because I remember leaving, and we got off of one of the ships before it got the nuclear weapons from the other people. Now, I don't know why I know that, but now I have studied it in this culture differently under world religions, the ancient world religions, and
right.
that story is the same, just like the deluge and the on. So that story's in me. But yeah, I believe it's just like they see ancient artifacts on the moon, Mars, wherever, because it just proves that we've gone forever and ever. And it has something to do with those that we rotate and repeat coming back down here in this, I don't know what you want to call it down here, this reality, is the fact that we know we're rotating and we're duplicating. And the people that I've worked with their souls, now they wouldn't share to me, but they apparently do understand the soul. Now, down here, at 0 point energy in the theory of everything, we don't have the God source.
Right.
Hey, can I add something on that? And then I've got to go get ready for my other show. I don't know if you're coming over. It's a show after this show. But anyway, my husband and I are Anunnaki researchers, so we've been on Mars for a long time. But I also research with all the secret space program people. And the theory, one of the theories is that Trump is saying this stuff because they're about to disclose, and then they'll just say, oh, yeah, we've been there all along, because it's starting to come out with all these whistleblowers. So maybe it's getting to the point where they're going to actually, create another cover story. They have to change their cover story. So they can say, yeah, we're creating this secret space program. Right, yeah, and then when it comes out, they'll go, oh, yeah. We were in the know. We knew Corey Good. We knew David. You have this whole subculture that'll say, oh, yeah, we knew it was there all along, the secret space program people. So that's part of why we think it's happening. Before Trump got elected, there was this whole thing about Podesta and Hillary was going to be the disclosure president, because the disclosure president's going to go down in history as, disclosure happened during their reign. So that might be what's going on. Apparently, they all get briefed. I've had whistleblowers, and the presidents get briefed, and so Trump's been briefed. TJ's husband was there at the briefing, or when Reagan got briefed. So, we know the presidents get briefed about the extraterrestrial presence and how they're interacting with humanity. So, maybe we're going to get disclosure. I don't know what level. They definitely want to control the narrative. They are very careful about what they release when. And ultimately, it's about money. They can control the information. They can control the technology, control medical, healthcare procedures. They just control the money, and they can set the prices, and basically, they can determine who lives and who dies. So hopefully we're going to move into a different reality where it's more fair, equitable, and across the board. But right now, it is what it is. So I'm gonna bid you guys a fond adieu.
Okay.
And I don't know, TJ, if you're coming over, if you guys want to come over to Aquarian Radio on Blog Talk, I have a link on aquarianradio.com. Just come over to the link and come and join us. And I'm going to go ready. But thanks for having me on the show today.
Yeah, nice having you there. Nice having you here. Okay.
Very nice being on with you again. What did you say, TJ?
You have your phone number that is on your front page to people to call in so they can participate? Yes. Mm-hmm. Are you doing an interview?
No, people can call in. Yeah, it's on my page. It's on blogtalkradio.com /Aquarian Radio. The call-in number's right there. I don't have it in my head right now. Okay.
Yeah, I don't either.
See you there.
Right,
okay.
All right.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Yeah, and what I'd like to add when Janet brings up Trump, because I don't get into all the political stuff, is the fact that, and she does, and I just don't believe in the donkey elephant story and the three, because I've been to too many influential people that control all that and let the people,
right.
So to me, I already know it's all bullshit, but in their reality, inside the matrix, they like to keep it real. But the people that know about the electoral vote versus those of us that think we're voting, and I vote. Don't get me wrong, but I still want to believe in a democracy and that we set it up all right for the people, because that's what I want to believe. But what I would like to say is that people talk like they know exactly what's going on at their level of existence, but how many are really interacting with anything other than what they see in the internet or on television or read themselves? So in their innerverse inside themselves, that's what really matters, is their innerverse and what they'll take with them when they leave. This is what I've gathered. If I had to die in just a moment and never talk again, I would want you to know that the only thing you're going to take with you is what you cherish as your memories on the inside that make you who you are.
I believe that.
Because once you leave here, what's good about being here is using your facility, your container, so you can know what a thought and what a feeling and an emotion, and understand what a give and take, a exchange rate for a product or a service. So it gives you a level of thought and education of why would anybody want to come back here, right? In the movement that I'm in, Ascension Age, it used to be the New Age, but 12/21/12 we changed it to Ascension Age, but that was awaken aware of the consciousness, and now the exposure to disclosure. But it's all about the reality that we create together as we move into this reality. And all the people, to me, they're sharing it like a game, a video game. The game of life is what they call it, but it is a game, and the game of life has several levels, just like Donkey Kong or Mario Brothers, right, or whatever they call them today, Game of Thrones, or what, what I'm saying. Inside life, there are levels, just like there are. At what level are you? What do you understand? And it is built on a hierarchy or democracy, maybe in space, because from what I can see, it's based on how many times you have a soul return. Because you're writing a book. I had you come on here to share some of your story, and we still haven't got it all. If we talked forever, you'd have to remember every thought that's crossed your mind, right? But
right.
What I can share is when I did leave my body, and you share differently, even when you're with extraterrestrials. And I thought I was dead, but actually I was just taken out of body. But the thing is, sometimes you're in your body and sometimes you're out. And sometimes, if working in the biblical sense, I knew not whether I was in or out of my body, because I've recently been taken in Gulf Breeze, and I couldn't tell if I took my body or not. But I did get to see the ocean where my phone was dropped, literally just dropped, and it quit. So I know that when they took me, they left my phone and my shoes. So I was taken on board a ship again, but I'm accustomed to it. So, and it's okay, because I have an agreement that if they need me or when I have to work, but usually I'm okay down here. But I've been taken in various ways, so also like lucid dreams, right? So I do know the difference. But this time I didn't know whether they took my body or if I just sit there and was part of me was put to sleep. But I felt myself lift up and go on the spacecraft. Now, on the feeling part, I've been flying outside the spacecraft before too. So what I'd like to be able to do is, with you as a alienologist and a ACO journalist for us, is to help us establish reality that there are people that are willing to serve as alienologists to find just how many alien species are visiting this planet based on the stories. If we can't see them, touch them, feel them, taste them, some of us can, some of us can't. Some of them are interdimensionals, but not all of them. Some of them can come in bodies, some can come and go. Apparently, from some people's stories, there's walk-ins or people that could come in and take over a body, just like we have with shadow people. Some people can take over shadows. So, and I started that years ago, and the black-eyed people and children, because I was a speaker. That's what they wanted me to speak on. So I had already written about shadow people, because while I was an investigator, that's what I called them. But I'd seen them in the 70s when just before I'd go to sleep, I'd start seeing people moving or building bricks in another dimension. So I taught myself in my early 20s how to see this other dimension. So, Dave, I'm hoping that you're like me, that you're so open-minded to learning that you realize it sounds crazy because it's not inside the paradigm or the matrix that we make in a 3D reality. However, if you can be open-minded to multidimensionals and other universes, then you can help write the new story, which is what I was hoping people like Richard and Stan and George Filer and Glenn Dennis would do. The people that I was asked, they were the first level of existence of level 1 society. But we didn't move fast enough, and it was mainly my fault, I feel like, because I was invited to speak. I just didn't. They kept putting off the 50. I was involved in the 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. So we started counting back years and years ago. But I missed from 47 to 97, so that's 50 years. And then what is it now, 2017? Another thing you're going to find, Dave, is that many people that can live and do different realities in one container, meaning the biological unit, is the fact that we can come and go just like you do dreams and lucid dreams, and you bilocate, and that they're starting to explain that now because of where we are in the universe. Have you heard that about where we are with spinning? The Earth is spinning around the sun, it's spinning around the supercluster that's spinning around inside the universe, it's spinning. So everybody's moving more than 18,000 miles an hour, and that the thoughts are faster than the speed of light. So it's much more complicated than we have been taught. So those that I
heard about that, but also heard there's a theory going on now that they said that the Earth doesn't spin. I don't believe that theory. They said that NASA couldn't produce the video or the film of the Earth spinning.
Well, that's apparently it goes back to I won't say they're aliens, but I could say that there's a lot of people that want to keep the status quo of the Matrix. And I have to admit, I use the name Matrix a lot because I like Keanu Reeves and I like the producers, and we do relate storytelling to movies. But inside the Matrix, and Philip K. Dick was great at this. Philip K. Dick was I relate more to him than anybody because he was trying to tell levels of stories based on his experiences. But he was very good at writing the stories where I'm not. I'm going to try to get better, and Ahmad's going to try to help me. Ahmad's a good storyteller once upon a time, right? Ahmad, you're going to try to help us with the storytelling? Ahmad?
Is he still there?
I'm here. I'm sorry. It takes me a minute to find that mute button.
Well, you're going to help us, right? Tell these stories because Dave is going to.
Well, I hope so.
Contact, right? But these stories need to be written, but they need to be written in a manner of, like Philip K. Dick. People want to read the books, right? And you're studying that for the last year. I've had a publishing company since I worked catching paper, and my parents worked for a paper mill. So, Ahmad, have you had any dealing with the book industry or the publishing industry?
Well, I've got several self-published books out there. Now, the actual agents and publishers, now that's a different story. No, I haven't dealt with them yet.
Those are all going away unless you're famous with a name, and usually they have ghostwriters. Those don't really sit down that much and do their own biography.
A lot of them pay people to actually write it, and they just pay the people and then put their name on it.
Yeah, and the company will do that if they think and make a deal to sell so many and buy so many, but they still won't even. They're still electronic. Everything pretty much has gone to electronic, But the distributors pay Books A Million. I'm in Barnes and Noble, Books A Million, and all those other places too. But you still have to go to the computer.
Yeah, that's the thing about Amazon. Once you publish there, that nobody will take them books back and resell them. You can't go up there and buy you 50 copies and then carry them to Barnes and Nobles. Barnes and Nobles won't sell it.
Yeah, you have to order it because they know it's electronic. It's all done on. They're all doing the same thing. See, that's how Amazon got all the big publishers. And then I used to go around as a truck driver for 8 years in and out of all the publishers until we even stopped picking up magazines. With the TV Guide and stuff, I'm sure they still got plenty of them. But yeah, I got to live through all that. So things are changing, but people live at different existence and have different levels. Mm-hmm, that's fine. Well, Dave, would you like to come back and help us again next week?
Yes, I hope we have a better connection because you've been snapping off and on. The static is on the line. And it's been off and on. I don't know if Matt noticed it too. I
won't use this anymore, Matt. That's that direct line. Every time I've tried it, it doesn't. Is it based? It's based on the MediaCom, isn't it? Or the direct signal into the computer. Is that it, Matt?
Yeah. What it's doing is just typing into an unused telephone line is all it's doing.
I don't understand why it picks up and goes away though.
And then you're subject to whatever happens to the telephone lines. We're both in the South right now, and it's right out 100 degrees. So.
Okay. Well, I apologize, everybody. Well, Dave, you're off and running. I've got you as a journalist and an ACO journalist and an alien contactor, and you've met Tom and you know Janet, or at least you've been on her show. So now the next step is to get you to keep doing what you did tonight. Maybe you can go back and listen, and then we'll cover some more of your story and then let you ask more questions. And then hopefully you'll write a book about all your investigations or your people,
right.
Or at least get a story going. I would like to see that we handle all the levels of existence and not just put them in a goldfish bowl and say, okay, you're in MUFON and you're not, and you're an investigator for MUFON and you're working with Kathy Martin and the Experiencer Group, and I talked to her years before they had that, about all that, 2008, with Captain McDonald and all that, way before we had Jan Harzan in charge. And between them, we had James Carey on, and then Captain McDonald, and then Jan Harzan. But that's just one nonprofit association. But we're building the UFO Association to be in the world, and hopefully with the Allied Command Org will be the ones willing to work all the various stories. I made a fandom, so we're going to also be like those that create the fiction, because Stan Lee got that with the super soldiers and Marvel and Kids Need Heroes, but we're really using that for entertainment. But we're also interested in psychic awareness and superpowers and leading this group into the future with better skills than they have now, meaning that you can do all this stuff, and we don't, this, don't you, that we're teaching people so we won't have to talk. again, we're going back to the mind and using it with direct lines, just like you do with the computers. And so we're going where they're going to be inserting the chips and things. Imagine that Ahmad is going to have to do a book where we're already the computers. And this is another thought, Dave, I want you to consider, is that there's already plenty of people out there at various levels of existence that are already, I'm a cyborg, according to, people. I'm a pastor in the biological part of our division, our company. So we'll talk about that. I mean, I've got titanium in my neck, and sometimes it hurts, But if you'll come back and help us, being that you have a degree in journalism, you've learned some skills, and you know that you handle the phenomenology of it all and the paranormal, and help me separate alienology from ufology. But we've got to make some decisions here in epistemology and taxonomy, just like writing nonfiction versus fiction. Have you noticed they don't say a lot of whether it's fiction or nonfiction intentionally in everything we're teaching? News, education, documentaries, fiction versus nonfiction. When I was a kid in a library, you could go to the fiction versus nonfiction, so.
Right. I remember that.
Kids don't know the difference these days. It's all on a smartphone.
Yeah, you're breaking up pretty well. So I guess I will start looking at the alienologists. I'll take a look at some of your sites and try to put together some thoughts.
That would be nice. And now, is Ahmad and Ken able to get in touch with you?
Matt and Kim?
Ahmad.
I don't know. Send me his email address. That's about all you can do.
All right. Now, he's on Skype, right? You're on Skype. Remember, this is Dave.
Right. Okay.
Dave Emmons.
He might be on Skype, but I don't have him. Oh, yeah, I do. I think I do have him.
No, I'm not on Skype right now. I'm on a landline phone.
All right, you want to keep this time open? You want this time slot 5 to 7 for Alien Contact to help build it as a show?
Yeah, there'd be certain nights that I guess my time kind of fluctuates around. I'm about ready to make another sound check with another, I guess, radio station. I'll be doing other radio interviews along with this, and I've been doing. I did one with Grant Cameron. He hasn't released it on YouTube yet, and I've done several others. But I'm working, and this is all a learning process for me to take a look at everything and learn what I can, and go with it. Try to learn what happened to me, and then try to put those experiences to other people's experiences, and maybe I can be of help, and maybe I can explain the difference between ufology and alienology.
We'd appreciate it. I believe there's many levels we need to discover. Well, put in there too. And not Graham Hancock, the other one, Grant Cameron, has been on this show. He was in December 2018, and he wanted me to ask if he could come to Florida if I would help him with portals. So I know he's interested in what I know about opening portals and wormhole travel. So put that in your little category, and that's all skills of people. And, some people that have had out-of-body and near-death can do it. Some of them that have been Buddhist or, left their body in the past life and all shriveled up.
Right.
All right. Well, there's all kind of ways as an alienologist to start, just like an archaeologist or somebody that does rocks. You get it? But we're going to do the various types of people that are aliens, and the tall white and the short grays, and there's medium-sized grays. Some look like Japanese, some look like Chinese, some look like up in the Mayan, and some of them look like the little people that are up in the mountains. And what I find funny, most of us that are humanoids on the planet are all resembling the various types of aliens. And I don't know why other people can't see that, but that's what I see.
Yeah.
Well, Ahmad, go ahead. Can you?
Yeah, I was just going to say that there's so many things that we don't know. There's so many things that are out there. I think there's nothing that's not impossible anymore. I really don't. I think we could have double souls. I do know that there's a God, and I do know that there's the aliens call it the source of all energy, but there is a God, and the ancient aliens who were called gods, they're not gods. They're just aliens, or may not be aliens, like we talked about before. They could have been here thousands of years before us. So we don't really know that either. And Columbus didn't discover America either. So there.
Well, we'll leave it at that and have you come back then next Thursday, 5 to 7, and we can still book one. Janet gets 2 hours and I get 2 hours, so we've separated them on Thursday. We found out Thursday, Friday, Saturday works better, although Tuesday's a pretty good night. Some people like Monday, so I guess anytime you're willing to put in the time, but if you own your station or own your time and you're willing to pay for it. A Mad Painter, I hope that you will continue to do this and help us archive these stories. And you're welcome to grab it too, but I'm going to be promoting both of you guys on these.
Much as I'm able to, I will.
Okay. Well, you're going to be a big part of this, to keeping us together. We have to have anchors, folks, and people that will make sure we show up and do our part. And we sort of call them administration or producers or directors or managers. And we cut a lot of that out in this world between top management and lower boots on the ground. But we're going to have to put some middle management back in here because the world's just not working as good as it used to. So everybody help each other and create and do your creating, whatever that is. Keep being positive, and we'll try to show up and help you with levels of existence, because there's many of them. It's not just one or the other. Well, thank you, Dave. I look forward to continuing your story as an alienologist, and hopefully you can put a weekly something between 500 and 1,200 words under your name with your picture as a journalist on aliencon.org. And so check it out now that it's back up, because we went over to get a bigger server, and I'm paying much more money so we can have your stories and other people's too. So we're going to still be archivists, folks. So that's what a MAD does. He connects people and he has to get everything archived, running properly.
Okay.
All right.
Okay,
and
that'd be great. And I'll be talking to you soon. And I was just going to say, Grant Cameron, you've heard of aports, I guess. You've been involved in things that just appear in front of you and you don't know where they come from. I've had a lot of aports that have come to me, and Grant Cameron was really interested in the aports as part of the story. And I sent him some pictures of some of the articles that was transported through some dimension or by somebody and landed up in front of me. So that happened too. Those are the little things that surround all these abductions and UFO sightings.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. You've written articles on this. You're an expert.
No, but Grant Cameron he's writing some stories in his new book with aports, and he's going to use about 5 or 6 of my pictures and my short stories.
Oh, so you're a content provider. Good for you. Well, write your own book, dear.
Well, you got to start somewhere. If you're an experiencer, you really have to start somewhere and work with people because you want them to believe you as much as you believe them.
You're right. Well, we appreciate you being a part of our group. We are a spiritual science community called the Ascension Center Organization, but my company is American Communication Online, and I pay the bills. But we're going to do, we're trying to put together a nonprofit, Dave, just so you know, and we'll be calling it the Allied Command Organization. It's all under ACO, so don't forget my acronym. I use it to brand all the stuff future into the now, and Mad's going to help make us some brands, and we'll keep going forward, and we'll be here tomorrow night, Dave, with who's coming tomorrow night? You're sponsored tomorrow night with somebody. Who was it from Canada?
Brian Rue might show up.
Brian Rue, is it R-U-H-R? Rue?
Yeah, I believe that's how he spells it. I'm not sure.
From Canada. He said he was looking forward to it, folks. So he's from Canada, and I guess
RUHE.
RUHE. Okay, thank you. So we're looking forward to Brian RUHE from Canada tomorrow night, and then we'll have Dave Emmons back next Thursday, 5 to 7, as we
He
build.
for a while had the largest UFO contactee meetup group in Canada for years.
Great.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, well, you can show up tomorrow if you're, but now it's later on a Friday. It's 8 to 10, right, Ahmad? 8 to 10. 8 to 10 Eastern. All right, 8 to 10 Eastern, folks. We'll be here tomorrow night. You're welcome to come, Dave, and listen in on the alien contact. I'll put you on if you want to ask questions.
Okay.
All right. Well,
thank you, and have a good evening now.
Okay, we look forward to you building yourself as an alienologist, and we'll help you archive it right here. Thank you so much.
Thank
you.
you.
Look forward. Okay, thank you, Ahmad. I guess we'll go and look forward to having this archive out there on YouTube.
We'll talk with you tomorrow night.
Oh,
okay,
that's right.
bye now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.